Good morning. Let us begin where life so often meets us, not in a monastery, but at the mailbox, at the inbox, at the little chime on the phone that says, "You have a message." You haven't even opened it, and already there is the sensation just there, just under the ribs, a small pull, a tightening, the breath catching before the mind has formed one idea. It might be a white envelope with a little window. It might be a bold subject line that says statement available. It might be an automated voice asking you to press 1. And before ink becomes numbers, before numbers become meaning, the body has rehearsed a whole story. In other words, the temptation precedes the fact, the envelope lands, and a law seems to land with it. And this is the place where honesty must enter. The struggle is not with paper or pixels. The struggle is with the sudden descent into cause and effect thinking, the old cosmic law that whispers, "You did this, now pay that. You lacked wisdom, now suffer consequence. You ought to have prepared, now you must repair." The chorus rises. What did I do wrong? How will I fix this? Who can I call? How fast can I move? That is the law of mental arithmetic, totals, deficits, penalties, due dates. And if we yield to that chorus, we are back in Egypt making bricks without straw. We are again measuring life by a ruler that never did measure spirit. The law was given by Moses, the scripture says, and you know the feeling of law, the weight, the ought, the lash. But grace and truth came by Jesus Christ. That is another realm, another government, another breath. Now, I will not pretend that in the moment of the envelope I always feel spiritual. I have known the tightening. I have known the rush to figure it out. I have even stood with a bill in hand and said quite truthfully, "I don't know. It hasn't unfolded to me yet." And I have found that my not knowing, when it is honest and humble, is safer than the mind's fast answers. Don't try. Live it. Exemplify it. In other words, let us not reach for bravado. Let us return to principle. The promise of this practice is very simple, and because it is simple, it is powerful. There is one recognition that halts the fall, one turning within that stops the slide before it becomes a day, a week, a month of fear. It does not add money. It does not bargain with the universe. It restores you to where supply is not outside of you to be sought, but within you to be recognized. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. That is not poetry to frame and forget. It is a description of the state of consciousness in which you and I are maintained, sustained, and governed by an invisible presence that does not fluctuate with invoices. But before we speak that sentence, and we will let us see clearly what the bill is claiming to be, appearances always claim authority. The paper seems to say, "I am cause, I am law. I am the measure of your life, and I dictate your next move." The calendar on the top right corner seems to say, "I am time, and you must bow." The total due at the bottom seems to say, "I am supply," or rather, "I prove you don't have it." And if you and I accept that testimony, we are instantly under cosmic law, again under penalty and fear, under the mind's arithmetic. You are only under cosmic law until you achieve the realization of grace. The envelope is not a command, it is a test. Not a test of your cleverness, but of identity. Are you separated from your source, or are you living in oneness with it? In Him we live and move and have our being. If that is true, and we will not force it, we will let it be true, then the bill has no authority to declare you apart from life. So we will not rush. We will not argue with paper. We will turn quietly and see what this appearance is claiming and why it feels so authoritative. And then from that seeing, we will speak the recognition that restores us to grace. Now, if we listen beneath the rustle of the paper, we hear what it is trying to prove. It is not merely saying you owe, it is preaching a little sermon of its own. Supply is outside you. It is scarce. It comes late. It can be withheld. And if we accept that sermon, we bow not to God, but to a calendar and an amount. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, the Scripture says. And yet fear takes a due date, stamps it with divinity, and says, this is the God you must serve. In other words, time becomes a tyrant, a whip. The bill whispers, grace cannot reach here. Spirit keeps no books. The clock is your true master. And the breath shortens, and the mind begins its arithmetic. And we are again back under cosmic law, where every seed of anxiety bears fruit after its kind. The deeper claim is bolder still. You are alone. No presence indwells you. No infinite life animates you. Supply, it says, is something you must chase across town, pry from another's hand, bargain for, or lose. But listen, I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. If that word has any life in it at all, this accusation collapses. I won't pretend that in every instance I feel the force of it. There are moments when I have looked at figures and felt empty. I have even said, I don't know, this hasn't unfolded to me yet. But I have learned that the bill's power lives entirely in the belief that I am cut off from the very fount of my life. Remove that belief, and the drama deflates. Now we come to appearance and reality. The printed amount is an appearance. The paper, the pixels, the bold type at the bottom that is not creation. It is a mental image representing a transaction, an agreement, a human arrangement. It is not the substance of your life, not the law of your being, not the government of your day. The things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. Reality is the invisible presence that constitutes you, that maintains and sustains and unfolds as every right form in due season. There is no matter as cause. There is no material law governing your breath, your bread, or your becoming. When we forget this, the mind takes the picture, carves it into an idol, and then kneels to it. We ourselves make an image of lack and then worship it as doom. See how fear recruits the calendar. The little box that reads due on the 15th suddenly becomes a prophet of wrath. You have 5 days, it says, and after that, penalties. That is the voice of Moses' tablets, cause and effect, desert and penalty, and you know the sensation, the lash on the back, the push to perform. But the law was given by Moses. Grace and truth came by Jesus Christ. Grace is not law with a sweeter tone. Grace is another government altogether, one that does not consult the stopwatch to see if it can be itself. Take no thought for your life, he said. Your heavenly Father knoweth that ye have need of all these things. Fear says, yes, but not by the 15th. Do you see? It is not money we are fearing. It is time as a false deity and separation as a creed. Let us be very clear so that we do not fight shadows. The bill is not your enemy. It is a piece of paper announcing a claim. We do not bargain with paper. We do not chant at it as if mouthing words would coerce God. We neither dramatize it nor deny it. We acknowledge the appearance, and then we turn quietly, deliberately to principle. Don't try, live it. Exemplify it. Let the inner recognition take precedence over the printed line. For money is not supply, it is the form supply may take for a moment. Supply is the life within you, the I that I am, and in due season it appears as what is needed and on time, not because we force it, but because we are not separated from it. In a moment we will take up the sentence that restores us to that grace. For now, simply see the temptation for what it is, a call to worship an image. We answer by remembering reality. I want you, right here, before another thought gathers its army, to hear this and hear it as your own inner voice. I am not separated from supply. Say it without strain. Say it without trying to make it true. Let it be true. In other words, we are not asking, not bargaining, not pushing. We are recognizing, be still and know that I am God. This sentence is the stillness that knows it is the return to what was true before fear began its sermon. Now, let me be very plain about what it is not. It is not a charm. It is not a positive thought to paste over a negative picture. It is not a way of telling yourself that you will not have to meet your obligations. We are not denying any responsibility. We are denying separation. We are not defying time. We are refusing to deify it. We are not informing God of a need. We are acknowledging that the life of God is the life of us, and therefore that supply is not external to be fetched, but internal to be recognized. Your Father knoweth that ye have need of all these things. If that is so, then this sentence is not a request. It is consent. It is agreement with what already is. Why a single sentence? Because when the wind rises, you do not lecture the sea, you turn the helm. Under pressure, you need a doorway, not a discourse. The mind in a storm becomes noisy. It shouts numbers, dates, penalties, plans. A sentence can be remembered when a paragraph is impossible. A sentence, if it is principle and not platitude, can open a space in which grace announces itself. And this one is principle. It cuts directly at the lie. The only disastrous suggestion in that moment is, I am cut off. Tear that root, and the weeds wither. So use it simply. Don't try to feel spiritual. Don't strain. Return to it. If the hands tremble, let them tremble and still say it. I am not separated from supply. If you can close your eyes for a breath, do so. If you cannot, say it under your breath as you open the envelope, and then be quiet a moment. I and my Father are one. Let that oneness be the atmosphere into which numbers fall. Let this sentence drop beneath the throat and settle where fear usually begins. Do not push it down. Let it descend of its own weight. It will. Before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I will hear. You are not commanding an answer. You are standing in the answer. I will tell you, there have been times when I have said it and felt nothing but the old chill. And I have had to admit, I don't know. It hasn't unfolded to me yet. But I have learned, don't try. Live it. Exemplify it. Keep your place in the sentence. Hold your peace. And in time that is often measured in minutes rather than days, the edge of fear blunts. The noisy mind grows tired of shouting into a presence that will not echo it. Out of that stillness, an idea may come, or a call is received, or a reminder is brought to mind, some right form in its right hour. But notice the order. Recognition first, then form. Grace first, then the appearance. You are only under cosmic law until you achieve the realization of grace. This sentence is your movement into grace. Now, do not turn it into magic. Don't repeat it to see what happens. Rest in it to see what is. If the mind asks, but what is supply exactly? Do not answer too quickly. Let the sentence do its first work, which is to remove the sense of distance between you and life. Because if we do not clarify supply itself, this can drift into poetry. And I have no interest in poetry that does not feed the hungry hour. So we will take the next step together to see that money is only a picture, a form, and that the source we are recognizing, this indwelling I, is the very substance that appears in due season as whatever is needed. First the recognition, then the definition, then the unfoldment. Let us say it plainly so the hypnosis breaks and cannot reform around more clever words. Money isn't supply. Employment isn't supply. A client isn't supply. A spouse isn't supply. These are forms, channels, vessels, good ones, useful ones, but not the living substance that maintains, sustains, and reveals itself as what we call livelihood. Man shall not live by bread alone, the Scripture says. And you know what happens when we forget that? We begin chewing on numbers as if they were life itself. In other words, we assign to a picture the power that belongs only to presence. Now hear the positive truth that belongs with that negative. I is supply. I embody supply. Not this I, Joel, or I, Mary. Not personality, not ego, but the I that I am, the indwelling presence which said, I am that I am. That I is the animating life of your being. It is the fountain, not the cup. The spring, not the bucket. When the recognition is present, that I unfolds outwardly as the forms necessary to each hour, sometimes as dollars, sometimes as employment, sometimes as a friend knocking at midnight with the very loaf you forgot to buy. My God shall supply all your need according to his riches in glory. Do you see the direction? Not according to the bank's ledger, not according to a client's mood, but according to his riches in glory, invisible first, then appearing in due season. And here is the practical relief that comes the instant you stop worshiping forms. When a form shifts, you do not fall. A job ends and you remain maintained. A client leaves and you are not dismissed from life. A bill rises and the I, that is your life, does not bow to it as a god. In other words, the bill can only demand a form. It cannot touch the source. Forms are like waves. They come to crest and they flatten, and still the ocean is ocean. If you identify your safety with a wave, you will pant after every whitecap. If you abide in the ocean, a wave is just a manner of movement. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Not for I arranged a permanent contract, but for I am with thee. Don't try to force this into your head as a doctrine. Live it. Exemplify it. When the salary is reduced, let that be a gentle bell reminding you. Salary never was supply. It was a channel through which supply flowed for a season. When a spouse is anxious, remember, neither comfort nor discomfort comes from persons. These too are forms, your pieces of God. When a marketplace shifts, do not turn prophet of doom. Turn within to the principle. Supply is the I of my very being. Therefore, the form of supply must appear because it is the nature of I to unfold. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Seeking the kingdom is not chasing forms, it is consenting to I as the source. Now, if you accept this even a little, you will understand why fear feels like such a fall. Fear is not just an unpleasant mood. Fear is the mind racing back to cosmic law, back to effect causes effect, back to as thou sowest, so must thou reap. Back to the stopwatch and the whip. It is the worship of appearances, numbers as gods, due dates as final judges. But grace is another government altogether. Recognition of I as supply lifts you from law into grace, where the appearing of right form is not earned by anxiety, not secured by pleading, but revealed by oneness. In other words, the bill has brought a question, and grace has given an answer. The bill deals in forms, but your life is sustained by the invisible source that is never absent. Keep your place in that. Let forms come and go as they must. Let I remain what? It is your unfailing supply, unfolding as right form in due season. Now let us be exact about the framework, because if we do not see the mechanism, fear will seem mysterious and we will fight shadows. Cosmic law is the mind's ledger. It is the bookkeeper within that says, I must pay for the past. I must be punished. I must strain to deserve tomorrow. It toils in arithmetic. It tallies desert and penalty. It reminds you of every sowing and insists on a reaping, often with interest added. Under that regime, the bill is not a paper. It is a verdict. The date on the top right is not a convenience. It is a judgment day. And the fear you feel isn't just nerves. It is the sensation of being back in the courtroom of cause and effect with no advocate and no grace. But the law was given by Moses. Grace and truth came by Jesus Christ. Do you hear the movement? Out from Moses into Christ. Out from the ledger into life. Out from law into grace. Grace is not a sweet way of doing law. Grace is the action of a higher principle that sets aside the penalties of cosmic law because it operates from a different basis, oneness instead of separation. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Jesus, not because they cleverly paid it all in advance, not because they argued their case well, but because they are in a consciousness where condemnation has no jurisdiction. In other words, in grace, the court is not merely lenient. It is not convened. Now, be careful here. Grace is not an exemption from wisdom. It is not a device to dodge responsibility. It is not indulgence. Grace does not remove the need for integrity. It removes the belief that you live by compensation and penalty. Under grace, right action is not a bargaining chip. It is the natural fruit of oneness. Go and sin no more is spoken after, neither do I condemn thee. First the release, then the transformation. In other words, grace annuls the tyrannies of the past so that wisdom may govern the present. What reinstates the penalties? Fear. Fear is the inner act by which you step back under cosmic law and agree to its jurisdiction. Fear accepts separation, bows to time as tyrant, and begins to calculate. And the moment you begin to calculate who owes whom, how long, how much, you feel the lash because you have consented to the court where lashes are law. You are only under cosmic law until you achieve the realization of grace. Recognition, not effort, not bargaining, restores you. Be still and know that I am God. That stillness is not passivity. It is jurisdictional change. You stop pleading a case in a court with no mercy, and you awaken to a kingdom where mercy is the way things are. I do not say this glibly. There have been mornings when the figures looked like giants, and I felt like a grasshopper, and I have had to confess, I don't know, it hasn't unfolded to me yet. But I have also witnessed again and again that the instant I refuse the assumption of separation, something shifts. The figures might remain for a moment, but their power drains away. A way opens where the mind saw none. A debt once chained to penalties meets a friendly adjustment. An overlooked credit appears. An idea arises that simplifies what looked impossible. Before they call, I will answer. In grace, supply is not earned, it is revealed, because supply is your very life appearing as right form in due season. So the inner move is simple, though not always easy. Out from calculation into communion. The mind wants to count. The heart is called to consent. We do not consent to magic. We consent to oneness. We do not abandon prudence. We abandon fear as God. We do not throw away the bill. We throw away the verdict. The sentence we have used, I am not separated from supply, is the doorway to grace. But, and hear this so we do not drift into theory, a door does not carry you through. The practice is the walking. In a moment we will take it up. How to open the bill without opening the floodgates. how to let that single recognition become the felt atmosphere in which you take the next right step, even if your hands are shaking. Don't try, live it. Exemplify it. And as you do, you will discover that penalties lose their teeth in the presence of grace, and what looked like a rod becomes a staff that comforts. Before you open anything, before your thumb slides, before your letter knife splits the fold, pause. One breath, not a performance breath, not a dramatic pause, just a simple consent to presence. In that one breath, inwardly, without strain, let the recognition be voiced, I am not separated from supply. Use it before analysis begins so you meet the bill from grace rather than from panic. If you feel the old current already rising in your chest, do not fight it. Let this sentence be the gentle turning of the helm, not the lashing of the sea. Now, 3 simple steps, and keep them simple. First, recognition. Speak the sentence once, twice, as needed, quietly, honestly. I am not separated from supply. You are not informing God. You are remembering God. You are not lighting a match. You are acknowledging the sun. If an additional line arises naturally, the form will appear in due season. Let it join not as a demand, but as an echo of the same principle. But hear me, one sentence is enough. Don't try. Live it. Exemplify it. A single true recognition outweighs 10 clever affirmations. Second, relaxation. After the sentence, soften the body. Let the jaw unhook. Let the tongue drop from the roof of the mouth. Lower the shoulders, widen the back. Let the breath fall into the belly. Feel the hands unclench around the imagined crisis. Do nothing ambitious with the mind. Be still and know that I am God. That stillness is not a trick to get a feeling. It is the body agreeing with the soul. If peace does not rush in well, don't try to manufacture it. Let the sentence sink of its own weight beneath the level of words. It will. And if it doesn't, instantly, I don't know, then it hasn't unfolded yet. Give it 60 seconds of honest quiet. You are only under cosmic law until you achieve the realization of grace. This softening is the turning toward grace. Third, responsible action. Open the envelope, read the numbers, note the due date, see if there are errors, see what is fact and what is imagination. From the recognition, take the next sane step. Perhaps you schedule a payment, perhaps you call for a clarification, perhaps you set a reminder, perhaps you move an appointment to free an hour of work. Render therefore unto Caesar the things which are Caesar's, but render them from the atmosphere of, and unto God the things that are God's. In other words, you let wisdom govern the practical without allowing the practical to define reality. The bill asks for a form, grace provides the source. Attend to the form as an adult, from oneness, not from the child's panic at a shadow. Beware of strain here. Do not repeat the sentence like a drumbeat, hoping to hypnotize yourself into courage. Do not search your chest for a sensation to prove God arrived. Do not test outcomes to see if grace is working. The sentence is not a lever, it is a doorway. Walk through it. And then walk through your day. If, while reading, the old surge returns, start again. Recognition, relaxation, responsible action. If, while on hold with a service representative, fear rises, breathe once. I am not separated from supply. If the representative says, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. Don't argue with their training. Hold your place in grace and ask for the next sane step. You will hear it. Your Father knoweth that ye have need of all these things. Knowing that, you need not extract a blessing by force. Practice this not as a ritual, but as a rhythm. In the moments when the app is spinning and the little wheel turns one breath, one sentence. When the envelope is in your left hand and the knife in your right, one breath, one sentence. When your spouse asks, "Did you see the bill?" One breath, one sentence before you answer. This is what it means to meet life from grace. It is not dramatic. It is not noisy. It is faithful. And if one day you find yourself saying the sentence and feeling nothing but your own heartbeat, remember, feeling is a form, recognition is substance. I and my Father are one. Let that suffice. Now, because the mind clings to pictures, let us give it a better picture. Principle must be proven in consciousness, yes, but sometimes an image breaks fear's spell in a way a paragraph cannot. In a moment, we will look at a tree, an orange tree, and watch invisible supply at work while the world stares at empty branches. For now, keep to your 3 steps: recognition, relaxation, responsible action. Meet the bill from grace. The form will appear in due season, because supply is the indwelling eye that unfolds as right form in its right hour. If you stand in an orchard in winter and look at the orange trees, you'll be tempted to preach your own sermon on lack. The branches look lean, some look barren. You will not see blossoms, you will not see fruit. You will see a form that, to the untrained eye, says, nothing is happening. But the orchardist smiles because he is not worshiping appearances. He knows there is a life within the tree that does not start in April and die in November. He knows that roots are drinking what your eyes cannot count. He knows, as the Master said, of another field. First the blade, then the ear, after that the full corn in the ear. In other words, unfoldment has stages, and most of them are invisible. For the earth bringeth forth fruit of herself is still a law of grace in the spiritual life. The tree does not panic because it has no oranges in January. The tree abides in life, and life keeps its season. Now bring that picture right up to the desk where the envelope sits. The bill arrives, that is your bare branch moment. You look at your account, and to the untrained eye, it says nothing is happening. No check in the mail, no payment posted, no client committing, and the mind, trained by cosmic law, cries, late, behind, lacking. But supply is not late. Your perception is resting its whole weight on the wrong stage of unfoldment. Invisible supply has not ceased because a form is not yet on the branch. The sap is moving. Ideas are forming. A contact is already being guided. The kingdom of God cometh not with observation. It does not announce itself to the senses. It unveils itself to recognition. I is supply. Therefore, the appearing of oranges, dollars, solutions, arrangements must be the natural outworking of that I in due season. Do you see why we say, don't try, live it, exemplify it? The tree does not strain to blossom, and it does not lecture its bark. It abides. The orchardist waters, prunes, tends responsible action, but he does not stand there tugging at the twig to force a fruit. That is what panic is, tugging at twigs. And I have done it. I have checked an account every half hour to see if God had finally decided to be supply. I have dug up my own seed to make sure it was sprouting. Each time I had to admit, I don't know, this hasn't unfolded to me yet, and then return to principle. Stop digging up seeds. Every time you rip up the soil to prove progress, you interrupt your own receptivity. Be still and know that I am God. Stillness is not idleness. It is trust in the action of invisible life. When you hold the recognition, you give the unseen stages room to come forth. Blossom is a stage, green fruit is a stage, ripening is a stage, payment posted is only one stage, the bell on the phone at 3:17 with a new idea, that is a stage. The quiet inner release that lets you sleep, that is a stage. The friendly voice that says, I can extend your date, that too is a stage. While they are yet speaking, I will hear. The mind that worships, forms, calls, all of that, nothing happening because it cannot smell the blossom. Grace calls it unfoldment. And grace is our government, not the stopwatch. So let your practice mirror the orchardist. Respect the seasons, calendars, commitments, the pruning shears of good stewardship without bowing to them as gods. Render to Caesar from grace, not fear. Stand still inside your sentence, I am not separated from supply, and let life do what life knows how to do. Seed time and harvest shall not cease. If the branch today looks bare, do not condemn the tree. Consent to the life you cannot count. The form will appear in due season because the life is already present. And now we must ask why a sheet of paper can move us so quickly from orchard calm to desert panic. What is it touching? It is not merely figures, it is identity. The bill suggests you are a branch cut off, but I am the vine, ye are the branches. Apart from that I, ye can do nothing. The fear you feel is the sensation of being a severed twig. The recognition we have been using restores you to the vine consciousness. I and my Father are one. We will take that up next, how under pressure you move from mortal accounting into the child of God consciousness, where supply is not begged from the world, but born of the I that you are. This is the heart of it. The bill does not only ask for dollars, it asks, who are you? Under pressure, the mortal identity answers first, and it answers loudly. Mortal man says, I must survive by my wits. I live by effort and luck. I am measured by outcomes and overdue notices. So when the envelope lands, he hears a verdict on status, competence, and future. The ego scrambles to reassemble its image, calculates, compares, blames, bargains. It lives by the stopwatch and the scoreboard, and it calls that living. In other words, it is a branch arguing to the wind that it is separate from the vine and must invent its own sap. But child of God consciousness speaks from another birthplace. It says, I live by inner sustainer. I am maintained by the I, that is my life. I don't fetch supply. I embody supply. Now listen, because this is the signature that breaks the hypnosis. I is supply. I embody supply. Not I, the clever personality. Not pride. Not presumption. The I that said, I am that I am. It is no longer I that live, but Christ liveth in me. That I, as your very being, is the well of living water that becomes the form required in due season ideas, dollars, adjustments, favor according to grace, not according to fear. It is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. You are not an orphan scraping for coins. You are a child, heir of God, and joint heir with Christ. When this identity is recognized, behavior changes without theatrics. You still open the bill, you still call the provider, you still negotiate kindly, work honestly, send what is yours to send. Render to Caesar remains good order, but you no longer dose each action with the poison of self-condemnation. You are not doing penance, you are practicing stewardship in the light of oneness. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Jesus. Condemnation is the voice of separation. Stewardship is the fruit of union. In other words, you move from hustling to holy order. Same phone call, different souls. Let me be candid. I have opened envelopes with a racing heart and a clenched jaw and made 3 wrong calls in 10 minutes just to feel in control. And I have had to stop and admit, I don't know. It hasn't unfolded to me yet. Then the sentence softly, honestly, I am not separated from supply. The hands did not instantly stop shaking. The figures did not vanish. But the atmosphere changed jurisdiction. A kind of inward permission arose to act without self-accusation. The call returned, we can extend the date. Or an idea came, combine these errands, free that hour. Perfect love casteth out fear, not by arguing with fear, but by making it unnecessary in the presence of I. Identity under pressure chooses its government. Mortal accounting keeps minutes and indictments. Grace keeps you. Mortal man waits for proof to feel whole. The child abides in wholeness and watches proof appear in its time. Mortal man says, if I had more money, I'd be safe. The child says, because I am one with I, supply is my nature. Money is a stage on the branch. Mortal man is forever interviewing the future to see if it will hire him. The child of God is at work in the vineyard today because the vine is his life. Abide in me, and I in you. For without me ye can do nothing. With me within, nothing need be forced, and nothing essential can be withheld. Do you see, then, why the sentence is more than a pretty line? It is a name tag you put back on your soul when fear tries to hand you another. I am not separated from supply is not an argument to get money. It is a recognition of who lives you, and recognition is causative in the realm of grace. It births conduct fitted to reality. You find yourself paying without panic, asking without groveling, declining without shame, resting without procrastinating. The bill stops being an enemy and becomes a bell that calls you to your name. Now, one word of caution, so we do not slip back into old magic with new phrases. If you take this sentence and shake it like a vending machine until coins fall, you are back under cosmic law. The sentence is a doorway, not a demand. In a moment we must take that up. How not to turn recognition into a charm, but to let grace be what grace is. The life of I unfolding as right form in due season. Don't try. Live it. Exemplify it. Now here is the correction we must make so the whole structure doesn't quietly slide back under law. Don't turn the sentence into magic. The subtle trap sounds so pious you hardly hear it. If I say this rightly, I'll get a check by Friday. That is still cosmic law. It is merchandising, do it des. So you must do that. It is the old court with a rosier robe. The sentence is not a lever to move life. It is a recognition that lets life move through you. Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. When recognition is present, you are returned to the relationship that always was, but was not consciously felt. Oneness. In that atmosphere, forms appear in their right way in their right hour, not because you squeeze them out of God, but because I, as your very life, is forever unfolding itself. In other words, the sentence is prayer in its New Testament sense, communion, not commerce. Thy will be done is not surrender to deprivation. It is consent to reality. You are not ordering a package with overnight shipping. You are consenting to be the branch through which sap becomes fruit in due season. And this includes the holy I don't know. Often you will not know, and I confess I have not known the channel through which supply will come or the precise hour it will show. It hasn't unfolded to me yet. That is not failure. The wind bloweth where it listeth, and thou hearest the sound thereof, but canst not tell whence it cometh and whither it goeth. So is supply that is of spirit. You will hear the sound, a nudge, a phone call, a clarity, but you need not blueprint the breeze. Beware of performance. Don't perform spirituality, embody principle. The mind says, if I repeat it 10 more times with extra sincerity, the universe will be impressed. Who is that trying to charm? God is not a mood to be flattered. Your Father knoweth what things ye have need of before ye ask him. The asking, then, is not information for God. It is formation for you. It shapes you into the receptivity that can recognize the idea, the adjustment, the quiet courage that is already present in the eye of you. And as recognition becomes atmosphere, decisions get cleaner. You make the call without a tremor of self-contempt. You check the figures without stabbing yourself with each digit. You speak kindly to the representative, because you are not begging for a life. You are rendering a form from a life you already embody. Freely ye have received, freely give. Even your tone carries grace rather than transaction. Now, someone will say, but I said the sentence and nothing happened. Nothing you could see, perhaps. Did the panic reduce by half? That is something. Did you speak more gently to your spouse? That is something. Did an idea arise to consolidate 2 errands and free an hour? That is something. Do not despise the day of small appearing. The tree first bears bud, then blossom, then fruit. To call the blossom nothing because it is not an orange is to insult the orchard. Live the sentence. Let it permeate your conduct. Don't try. Live it. Exemplify it. If you find yourself bargaining, I said it, now where's my check? Stop and start over. I am not separated from supply. Pause. Thy will be done. Be still a moment. Let the words drop below the neck into knowing, and be honest with yourself. The form you have picked out may not be the form grace intends, and that is good news. Grace has more ways of being itself than your plan can host. Sometimes the supply is the courage to ask for an extension, and the extension is granted. Sometimes it is a new client. Sometimes it is an inner release to sell a thing you no longer need, and with it goes a weight you didn't know you were carrying. Sometimes it is simply sleep, and in the morning the same figures meet a clearer mind and fall into place without drama. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. Not the world's proofs first, then peace. Peace first, and proofs arrive as peace's offspring. When the sentence is purified of superstition, it stops being a spell and becomes a door. You do not stand at the door measuring the hallway. You walk. You render to Caesar from grace, not fear. And as you walk, you discover that timing itself comes under a new government. We will take that up next, how due dates on paper meet due season in grace so that you may respect the calendar without bowing to it and watch forms appear when and as life knows best. Now about time. The date on the page is not an enemy. It is a human arrangement for order. Respect it, honor agreements, communicate early, put reminders where they belong. Do your planning like an adult under grace, not like a child bargaining with fate. Render to Caesar includes schedules and signatures. Grace does not make you careless. It frees you from fear so that integrity can be natural instead of nervous. In other words, stewardship is not a substitute for oneness. It is a fruit of oneness. But please hear the other half of the principle. The calendar is not the law of your supply. It is a clock, not a creator. My times are in thy hand. Time serves unfoldment. It does not govern it. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven, but the season is set by life, not by the stamp at the top right corner of an invoice. When you shift from law to grace, you stop bowing to the date as judge and start using it as a tool. Useful, yes. Sovereign, no. This is why we speak of progressive birth. A right idea may be conceived in you today. Its appearance in form may be this afternoon or next Thursday or in 3 months, when 2 threads you cannot see right now meet without your managing. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. It may sound like a riddle, but you know the feel of it. What tarried to the anxious mind arrives right on time in grace. I don't know the hour that hasn't unfolded to me yet, and it need not. I is supply. The source is present now, and the source is the guarantee of the appearing. Let me make this plain with the sort of forms you and I actually touch. One day the supply looks like a phone call you would not have made in panic. From the sentence, I am not separated from supply, courage rises, tone softens, and you ring. The representative, hearing grace in your voice, says, we can restructure that plan and 90 days open. Another day supply is an idea that would not have visited a clenched mind. Bundle these small invoices into one offer, and by evening a client says yes. Another time it is a creative solution. Swap a subscription you don't use for a necessary tool, sell the equipment that no longer serves, and remove a weight from your floor and your heart. And sometimes it is simply a new client introduced through a nudge to write a note you'd put off for a year. Are these less supply than an instant check? No. These are the oranges in stages: bud, blossom, green fruit appearing as right ideas, right favor, right adjustments. Respect the date while abiding in due season. You can say to the lender, from grace and without groveling, I am committed to honoring this. Here is a workable plan. Many a penalty has melted in that atmosphere. And if a fee remains, you render it without self-accusation. You let it be a pruning, not a scourge. You are only under cosmic law until you achieve the realization of grace. Under grace, even delays are redeemed into timing. Even fees become teachers without becoming tyrants. As thy days, so shall thy strength be. Today's strength for today's step. Tomorrow's strength for tomorrow's step. Not anxious projection, not indifference. Simple fidelity in rhythm with I. Do not confuse speed with supply. Fast is a form. Right is the law. Some births are quick, some take their full term. The presence that conceives is the presence that delivers, and it knows its hour. Your work is not to yank the fruit onto the branch. Your work is to remain the branch in the vine. Recognition first, then the next sane act. If you watch the calendar with dread, return to the sentence. If you feel the heat rise as the date approaches, return to the sentence. If the answer comes on the day itself, be grateful. If it comes 2 days earlier or a week later, be grateful. Take therefore no thought for the morrow. Does not cancel a planner. It cancels fear's forecast. Plan from peace. Walk from peace. Let peace govern the hour. Now, to make this more than a good notion, we must let the sentence sink below thought and become atmosphere. In a moment we will take 3 minutes, not long, to make conscious contact, to let I am not separated from supply move from lips to life. Don't try, live it, exemplify it. Then open your calendar and your envelope in that light and watch due season meet due date without bowing to it. Let us take the 3 minutes now, not ceremony, not performance, just a simple turning. Sit as you are. Feel where the chair meets you. Let the shoulders drop a half inch. Let the tongue come down from the roof of the mouth. Breathe, not a big breath, not a clever breath, just the one you have, and let the hands soften in the lap as if releasing a weight you don't have to carry. Now, inwardly, no strain, let the sentence be heard. I am not separated from supply. Once is enough, twice if it arises. You are not commanding, you are consenting. In other words, you are letting what is true be true in you. Be still and know that I am God. Let the words sink as a small stone drops through water and is gone to the quiet place. No need to follow them down with thought. Let them go. Rest a moment. If a plan rushes in dates, digits, the next 5 moves, notice it the way you notice a bird pass the window. Not now. Return. I am not separated from supply. If another line comes, not by demand, but by grace, let it whisper through. I is supply. I embody supply. Then let even that grow quiet. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Do not judge what you feel. If warmth comes, fine. If nothing comes, fine. If only the honest ache of wanting relief is there, let it be there in God. This is not about sensation. It is about contact. Now, turn the attention gently toward the sense of life itself. Not the idea of God, not the thought of principle, but the aliveness that is present without your managing the breath moving of itself, the pulse in the wrist, the quiet fact, I live. In him we live and move and have our being. Let that be the felt statement. Life is here as me. Supply is not someplace else arriving later. Supply is this. Life unfolding as form in due season. Rest there a few moments. If a worry taps the window, we smile and say, after, and return. If you find yourself trying to make something happen, stop trying. Not by might nor by power. Don't try. Live it. Exemplify it by simple consent. I don't know the hour. It hasn't unfolded to me yet. I do know the present. That is sufficient. I and my Father are one. Let that oneness be atmosphere, not argument. Another minute now, light and easy. Each exhale a soft settling, each inhale a receiving you do not earn. If a word wants to rest on the breath, let it be. Thy will be done, not as resignation to lack, but as welcome to reality. And if nothing wants to be said, beautiful. Silence is prayer too. All right? Without breaking the peace, let your eyes open or your gaze widen. Take one responsible step, one indicated now. Perhaps you open the bill. Perhaps you write the note. Perhaps you set a reminder or draft the call. Render therefore unto Caesar from grace, not from fear. No drama, no bargaining with the hour. Just the next sane act carried by the atmosphere you have touched, and carry this with you. 3 minutes in the morning, 1 minute at noon, 10 seconds before you answer, did you see the bill? A breath in the doorway before you check the account. A breath at the sink, a breath in the car. Let the sentence become a rhythm rather than an event. I am not separated from supply. When the urge to plan sprints ahead, smile later and return. When nothing seems to move, remember the orchard. Consent to life you cannot count. Abide in me and I in you. As you practice in this quiet, you will discover that the crisis point is moved upstream. Fear has less to hook into because the atmosphere has changed jurisdiction. You are only under cosmic law until you achieve the realization of grace. And realization is cultivated here in felt contact until it begins to walk with you into the ordinary. From here we can let the day proceed. One recognition, one step, then another when it is time. Now let us make this very ordinary, because that is where it must live. When you hear the mailbox lid, when the notification pings, when the envelope sits, don't call it an enemy, call it a bell. Let it be the bell that calls you home. In other words, the very thing that once drove you under law can now signal grace. Each ring is not a verdict, it is an invitation. Return. Return unto thy rest, O my soul, for the Lord hath dealt bountifully with thee. You will walk to the desk a different person when the bell is heard as a call rather than a threat. And as you do this again and again, be reassured. Growth in grace is irreversible. I don't mean you will never feel a tremor. I mean you will not stay in the old panic as long. The path of the just is as the shining light that shineth more and more unto the perfect day. Once you have tasted this quiet tasted and seen that the Lord is good, you do not quite forget the way back. The habit of recognition begins to outrun the reflex of fear. You will find yourself stopping mid-spiral and smiling, the bell. And in that smile, the jurisdiction shifts. My sheep hear my voice, and none shall pluck them out of my hand. You are kept, even through small stumbles. Keep it simple. Please don't build a tower of affirmations and then try to climb it in a hurry. One sentence is your doorway. I am not separated from supply. Let life prove it. Let the calm unfold as conduct, as wise calls, as quiet adjustments, as favor you didn't arrange. The more you multiply phrases, the more you risk returning to performance. Don't try. Live it, exemplify it. One recognition walked out in ordinary steps demonstrates more than 100 recitations chanted with a racing heart. And if you cannot hold it alone, there is no shame in that invite. Help in the clean, simple way. Find a practitioner, a friend, a student who has been touched by grace, and say, stand by with me in the recognition, not to work magic, not to pry a form out of God, but to abide together in I. I have done this. I have said I don't know. It hasn't unfolded to me yet. Stand here with me in the principle. Two agreeing in spirit are not twice as anxious, they are twice as still. Where two or three are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. Let that midst be your atmosphere until the inner tone steadies and the next sane act becomes obvious. And then you will notice something simple and beautiful. The bill no longer owns you. It serves you. It reminds you to return. You open it not as a beggar bargaining with fate, but as a branch abiding in the vine, rendering to Caesar from grace, not fear. You may still schedule, still negotiate, still prune, but you will do it without self-accusation, and in that absence of condemnation, supply finds less resistance to its own appearing. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Goodness does not chase the worthy. It follows the willing. So as we go, let the bell ring whenever it will, and let it call you home. One sentence, honest, uncluttered, lived. Hear it now as benediction, not as bargaining. Slowly, letting it settle where speech ends and knowing begins. I am not separated from supply.